Go.
Hello, everyone. We are swim coaches in lockdown, and today's subject is endless pools. First of all, I'm really interested in endless pool, and with me, and we can have a little introduction. I have two other swim coaches with me who actually have own a swim endless pool. Okay.
I'm Claire, and yes, I have an endless pool in my house, 14-foot long, 7-foot wide, with a swim machine in it. I bought it from America, and got it shipped out here and put it in what used to be a playroom, and then converted a utility room into a changing area. Sarah?
Sarah?
Good. I'm Sarah. Mine's a bit different. I'm based in Manchester in the UK. My pool is actually a kind of a homemade, would be the wrong word, but it's not an off-the-shelf pool. It's a pool that was made to fit the space that we have. And then, so I have the pool, and then I just added in the fastlane machine, the motor that sends the current down the pool. It's housed in a log cabin in the garden. It's, how big is it? It's about 5 meters by about 3.5 meters. Yeah, that's my pool. It's fab.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, we have two different situations, which is really nice. Sarah, you already mentioned the brand of your swim machine, the fastlane. Claire, is yours also a fastlane, or do you have another?
So the fastlane is the machine which sends a current down your pool. That's what Sarah's got in a normal pool, and you can put them in any pool. It's my understanding you can put them in any pool. They just sit at the end of the pool. Mine is an endless pool with the fastlane machine in it, and that means that it's basically a metal box. It comes in 6 pieces of sheet metal, and then they put the liner in, and then they put some benches around the edges. The benches are there to channel the water, so in theory you have a smoother current, so the water comes out of the fastlane machine, which Sarah has, and then the water is channeled around the bottom area of the pool and back through 2 really big fans at the end of the machine, and then the water comes back out. So in theory, people say, and I can't say either way, I can only talk about my own pool, but in theory, people say that if you've got the channel, the benches, your swim is a lot more steady. There's less chop, there's less waves, and it's easier to swim in one when it's a full package like that.
Okay, and Sarah, have you experienced swimming in an endless pool and in your own pool and find these differences, or?
I noticed difference, possibly, but not so much that it makes a huge difference. Yeah. I think the last endless pool I swam in was a kind of top of the range, super duper one, which enabled me to swim faster than I can in my own pool, possibly because the current was more stable. But it's fine. It does the job.
Okay, thank you. And then we have some gadgets in these things, like I've seen on the internet, mirrors, handlebars. Do you both have? Oh, I see. Yes. Do you both have these things? What does the mirror, for example, add, Claire?
So, well, having a mirror on the bottom of the pool just enables the swimmer to focus, to see their technique, to stay in the current. So, one of the most important things is, keeping your head and your neck relaxed, so your head's floating. And you can really see that when you're looking at yourself in the mirror. It helps you to guide where your catch is as well under the water. Some people have, I've not got one, but you can fit a mirror on the ceiling as well. So for when you're doing backstroke, you can look up on the ceiling if that's something you're able to do. But the mirrors, there's 2 different types. You can get one that's flat on the floor, which you just look down on, and then there's the triangular mirror, which sits underneath the fastlane machine, and it's angled like that so that you can see your whole body, which is really good. You can see your alignment, you can see your posture, because it's angled. So there's 2 different types you can get. It's just preference. I'm not sure which one you've got, Sarah, but I've gone for the first one just because of the space in the pool.
Oh,
Yeah, I've got the flat one, yeah, and it's again, it does the job. It's a really, really useful thing to have. I haven't gone for one on the ceiling because, you know, the amount of times that will be useful is fairly limited, because most of my clients want to swim from crawl. They're not really interested in swimming on their back, so it's not as useful.
Yeah.
But certainly the one on the floor is really, it's invaluable.
Yeah.
But for all the reasons Claire said, you know,
Yeah.
it's a great thing to have.
It's not that people start ducking their head down to see what's happening on the floor. I just imagine that.
No, but it's quite strange when people first see themselves in the mirror. For some people, they really don't like it. I've actually had to move it for one client because she just could not cope with looking at herself in the mirror, whereas others find it absolutely fascinating and really like it. But it's often a question of remembering to look in the mirror, because you forget. You know, I know from swimming in it myself, you sort of forget, oh yeah, there's a mirror, I should look in the mirror. You know, you forget it's there. So it's a good mindful thing as well to remember to look at yourself when you're swimming.
I guess it's also to see yourself. Yeah, it must be weird because normally when you swim, you don't see yourself, and especially not from this angle.
No, it's strange.
It's definitely a perk to swimming in a pool like Sarah and I have got, because, you know, when you're swimming in up and down the lane, you know, there's less. And in terms of videoing, seeing yourself swim on a video is always really strange at first as well, isn't it? But it's definitely a perk of having a fastlane machine in your pool.
Okay, thank you. And how about electricity use? I was thinking, is it?
We both pulled the same face.
How did that happen?
It's funny
It's
you
not
should
cheap.
say that. It's not, because it's funny you should say that, because just this morning I looked at my smart meter and it's nearly the end of the month, and this month the pool has not been used other than a few family swims, and it's not cheap. It's not cheap. You know, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't want to say how much a month it costs, but it costs. And
Okay, you see
my energy bill in my house is reduced by about £100 this month.
Has yours gone down? Are you still heating yours to the same degree? So is it the machine that's costing the money as well?
No, I'm still heating it. It's still, I normally run the filter and the filter and the pump, the heating machine, about 12 hours a day, and now I'm only filtering it for 6 hours, so probably half that. But I've also cut the temperature of the pool, because when I'm in it 3 hours and I'm teaching, and the children 4-year-olds want it a bit warmer, so I've gone down from 88 degrees, so I have it quite toasty. And also it's summer as well, so 88 degrees Fahrenheit, it's about 32.
Oh gosh, right.
So I have it quite warm, and then so I've cut it down to 29 at the moment. It's at 29, which is a normal swimming pool at you know, the local pool.
Yeah.
29.
Usually 20.
Yeah, so I've cut it down just because you don't need it that warm when you're not in it that much, and it's too warm for training in. It's too warm for swimming in when it's that warm. So it's hard to say exactly how much one costs, but like any perk, you know, you would spend more on a BMW than you would an endless pool. So. And you put petrol in that, so I put electric in my pool. That's the way I look at it. I could buy an expensive car, or I can have a pool in my house. So I choose to drive around in a 15-year-old car and have a pool in my house.
There are, if people are thinking of getting a pool, there are much cheaper options that you can use to heat the pool, depending on where you site it, because there's the air source heat pumps now, which take heat from the air and convert that into heat for the pool, and they're very cheap to run, very, very cheap. Depending where you live is the benefit. You know, obviously the climate, you've got to have warm air to transfer the heat into the water. But the reason I don't have one of those is because they're quite noisy, because I'm in a residential area. We've got to keep the noise level down. I think there's some newer ones out which are much quieter, but the investment to buy those is quite a lot, but the payback will be really quick. So I'm looking at one of those to replace the electric heater, because that is the cost. It's the electricity, and it can be crazy. The pool's had a lot of use in the winter, you notice it.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, also
And
good
it's
to
also
know.
the environmental impact as well. If you can get one of the heat pumps that, you know, it's taking free energy, it's using free, you know, energy that's there. So why not do that? So I'll certainly be looking at that as an option going forward.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Then I have a few questions about swimmers. Do you both teach kids and adults, or Claire? What?
So I teach anybody above the age of 3.5, really. My oldest client was, I think they were 80. And my youngest was, I have some friends that come and their children are 2, but my certificate, it all depends on your certification as a swim teacher. Mine's from about 3.5 upwards, basically. I have classes of one-to-ones, classes of 1-to-2s, and classes of 1-to-3s. I've taught 3 adults in the same lesson. I've taught 2 adults, 1 adult. So basically up to 3 is suitable in my changing areas and in my pool.
Mm-hmm. Sarah?
I don't teach children. We do have some babies that use the pool, which is really nice because it's nice and warm and quiet for them. But I don't teach, I teach adults really. So I'll only teach 2 adults at a time. I could, partly for the constraints of not the pool, but the changing areas and things, although I am making some changes there to enable me to teach a few more. But 2 or 3 adults is fine in those pools. You could probably teach more. In fact, I have been to workshops where they've been held in an endless pool and there's been 4 or 5 adults in there and they've been absolutely fine. So size-wise, it's okay. Mine's a little bit bigger because it doesn't have because we made it to fit the space. It's slightly bigger, which gives you a little bit more scope, but I wouldn't think it would make that much difference. But it's, yeah, for me, it's adults. And my oldest, I think, was 80 odd as well, which is brilliant.
And so, as you were saying, you teach, you can teach more people or kids at a time. So you don't let them swim very long. Then I guess at a time.
Yeah, we've all been trained. We've all been trained with total immersion swim techniques, and the benefits of that is that it's best if you do a short, sharp set. You do 10 strokes, for example, or 6 strokes, and then you assess what you're doing. And doing 10 strokes at a time is far more beneficial than swimming 2 lengths where your technique is not right. So until they're able to show me, 10 strokes with perfect technique, I don't have to have them swimming for very long. So the gap between kids swimming and not swimming it's not that great. And also, as a teacher, you use peer assessment. So if I've got a group of 3 children, one of them will be on their way back to the line and the other one will be swimming and the other one will be watching and telling me what that person or that swimmer's done well. So yeah, 3 is a good number because you've got kind of 1 swimming, 1 watching and talking to me while I'm coaching, and 1 swimming back to get to the line, practicing their glide maybe on the way back, and using the benefit of the time. It's not like a standard swim lesson where you've got 10 kids just doing lengths and lengths and lengths, or and not really making much progress. The progress they make is, well, you can see on my page and my reviews about the progress the kids make, but personally, I think it's far better.
Yeah. Sarah?
Yeah. Same with adults, because what they're doing is very, very focused, and you don't need them to swim for long, because the aim is that they're learning, we use it practicing a drill with the machine or practicing a few strokes. Their aim is to focus on the point that we're trying to work on. And that's hard to do until you get into the habit of doing it for very long. So 6, like Claire said, 6 strokes with no breathing is perfect in an endless pool, because you can really get people to focus on that thing that they're doing, excuse me, rather than trying to swim a length. At the end of the day, a length is a variable distance. It could be 25 meters, it could be 50 meters, it could be 17, whatever. So people have this goal to get to the end of the length, and that then distracts them as well, and it's a success or failure thing. Whereas just swimming 6 strokes in the pool is fine, and everybody can do that to some degree or another. So it's an achievable thing for people to do, but also it gives them that opportunity to really focus. So it's perfect for them.
Yeah, good points. Very good.
And you're there as a coach, you're standing watching them, whereas in a, you know, you're next to them and you can, you know, some coaches have got headsets so they can talk to the swimmer as they're swimming. So they, you know, I try and shout, it doesn't always work. You know,
Are you in the pool with them, Sarah?
Yes, generally in the pool, not always, depending on the swimmer. Certainly to start with, I'm in the pool with them, but once they get a bit more experience and know what they're doing, and it's more about perfecting stuff rather than learning loads of new stuff, then I don't always get in, but generally to start with, I'm in them. So again, the endless pool is great because you can stand next to them and literally correct their stroke as they're swimming. Yeah. You know, you can move their arms for them, you can hold their feet, you can do everything, whereas you can't in a big pool.
And you stay standing against the current next to them?
Next to it, just outside the current. Usually.
Okay, so that's possible.
Yeah, you don't.
I was wondering how you start.
Yeah, no, you. No, the current's quite tight down the middle, so you can just stand outside it. Sometimes you get it wrong and get whizzed down the pool, which is quite entertaining.
Yeah, there's very few occasions when I'm not in the pool, to be honest. I mean, I have hired the pool to a GB triathlete, for example. I don't get in the pool with her. She's good enough. She's okay. She will come and she'll do a set and just swim constantly for an hour. So that's very different, you know. She'll set a set. And with the endless pool, I've not figured this out yet, but with the fastlane machine, you can set a Bluetooth timer. So you can actually pre-program how fast you want to swim against the machine. And you can set it up so that you do 30 seconds at that speed and 2 minutes at that speed and 3 minutes at that speed and then slow it back down again. It's on my continuing professional development list for me to learn how to do that. Stopping, starting and pressing, getting to the speed that you want can take time. And if I could just preset myself a set, just get in the pool and press go, that would be amazing. So yeah, that's a good feature.
Yeah, that's a nice possibility. Yeah. So if you let them do 6 to 10 strokes, I guess that's when they stop, because I thought, how do you say, okay, stop? I mean, shouting when the head is on the water is always difficult. Yeah, but also not to get them with the fingers in the grid or something. So how do you prevent, like, for example, Claire with kids, how do you prevent that from happening?
So my pool has got like a metal bar around the fastlane machine, which you can attach a woggle to, so that the children know that, you know, they're going to touch that instead of touching the machine. The machine is just a grate, and because of the force of the water coming out, it's very rare people actually touch it if you can control the speed well enough. I also put stickers on my ceiling, so I have a sticker and something that they can see if they're swimming backstroke. They can see a sticker, they know that that's where their nose needs to be, up on the ceiling, so they can see, you know, they're not going to bang their heads when their arm comes in above. And then if you can put things on the bottom, you can put sinky toys on the bottom, so they know that their eyes have got to be in line with that sinky toy while they're swimming. And if they go further past that, then they know that they're potentially going to touch the machine. But with children, you just get them to touch the machine. They know what it feels like, and then they're not scared of getting their hands.
Right. Okay. And Sarah, you were nodding no.
Yeah, with adults, I mean, we could use sinky toys. They probably quite like that, but we don't. It's really just to learn where the machine is, you know? And once I mean, it's not going to hurt you. You can put your hands and push yourself away. It's not going to, like, I always say to people, you know, when they first come, if they've not swum with one before, you know, don't worry, it's not going to suck you in and spit you out, you know, it's safe. But at the end of the day, it's a big piece of metal, and if they swim into it at high speed, they're going to hit it. But so that is helpful, because it means that they are less likely to just swim like crazy as well, because we don't want them to do that, because there is a temptation for some people to try and beat the machine, but they don't realize that I just keep turning it up, you know, and they won't beat the machine. But sometimes, you know, if they do go all out, then they do hit the machine, but it doesn't hurt them. You know? I mean,
so you never had swimmers that you could put it on the highest level of the swim machine and they could go against it, or
they could probably swim at it, but they couldn't beat it.
I've had a swimmer swim. Mine goes up to 1 minute and 8 seconds for 100 meters, and I've had a junior squad swimmer come in and be able to stay at that pace for quite some time. She will go on to good things. Yeah.
Wow.
The Team GB athlete that came in just before lockdown, she was swimming at, a pace of 1:28 for 100 meters. And even that's a fast old pace to keep up with. 1:08
Yeah.
100 meters. I'm not 100% sure of world records these days, but it's a fair old pace. There's not many people that can swim at it.
Yeah. No. Okay. Do you train yourself? Was a question I was curious about, because I could see that would be one of the advantages of having an endless pool, not only for teaching, but maybe also for your own training.
Yeah, sometimes, yes. I mean, we've used it quite a lot recently. And it's one of those things, though, and when you first get it, it's such a novelty and you spend half your time in it. But after a while, it's just something else. I know it sounds, I'm incredibly lucky and privileged to have it, but it's just there, and you sort of think, oh, should I go for a swim? Yeah, I'll go for a swim. People say, but you're in it every day. It's like, no, actually, I don't always swim in it either. I just go in and we play, we play games and play ball, or we put music on and just chill, put some disco lights on in there and we just chill. So it's lovely to have it. And as far as swimming, yes, I do use it, but myself, again, I just use it for short repeat work rather than longer swimming. Okay. So very focused work on, if I know there's something that specific that I want to work on, I will use it for that and get myself videoed and use it in a very precise way rather than swimming in it for a long time. I mean, sometimes I do. It's really, there's no set pattern. It's just what I'm working on at the time, what the time availability is. Works like that, really.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I'm training to swim the channel, so I am trying to swim some distance, but we're doing it as a relay, so I'm only swimming for an hour at a time. That'll be enough. And then yesterday I was in it with the family. We played volleyball. We did bodyboarding, so you can tie a bodyboard to the bar and, you can bodyboard on it. And we played subsurf. It's like a skateboard, but it's under the water, and you start where the machine is and the machine pushes you to the end. And the kids love that kind of thing. I don't know if you've ever seen I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, where they do the cyclone thing at the end. I do a cyclone activity with lots of balls that float around on the water. You turn it up super fast and kids have to collect the balls and put them in the bucket. And any water confidence activity like that is it's much more fun than swimming for 2 hours against a current. I'd rather do that.
Yeah, no.
I would definitely go to the seaside or go to the local lake if I was going to swim for a long time. But again, yeah, like Sarah, it's just there. It's like having a sports car in your garage. You might not use it quite as often as you think you would to pop to the shops, But yeah, we've worked hard to get what we've got, so just use it when we can.
Yeah, true. Okay, Dave, let me see. I think I've done all the questions. Oh yeah, the one last question is about filming. Is it like building cameras, or do you just use I don't know, like this activity camps, stuff like this?
Filming? Oh, I just use an iPad. I just use a mini iPad.
Okay.
And the only reason I use a mini iPad is it's easier to get in a cover than a big iPad, because you're actually able to press the buttons on a big one. The covers are too tight and you can't press the buttons. But yeah, I use a mini iPad. It's perfect. I mean, I'd love one of these super duper camera systems that takes images from all angles and you can see it in real time. But we can watch. The beauty of using the iPad is it's got a big screen, so you just watch it straight back.
Yeah.
As soon as you're filming clips rather than a continuous video, but that seems to be really useful because you can be very focused then, and then you can choose your clips after the session that are the most useful and send them to the swimmer rather than the whole lesson and they have to pick out bits. So it's like, this is the bit we're working on, this is you doing it well, this is a bit that's not so great, let's have a look at the differences. So that's all I use, mini iPad. Tried loads of things and that's been the best.
Yeah, very good to know.
I have a GoPro session, hero session on a stick, so I can film from above down, and then I also I can put that underneath the water and lodge it to have a look underneath the water. But I also use an Olympus Tough camera, and I also use my phone that's waterproof. So that's the easiest thing because you've got the screen on it. But you
Yeah.
can spend thousands. I was discussing with a colleague about spending thousands of pounds on having 4 cameras, one at the front left, one at the front right, one front center, one above your head, you know, and then having a screen on the wall. That would be, if money was no object and I was to win the lottery tomorrow, then that would be what I'd buy. But they're really expensive, and some of them are not that reliable. So I find that, you know, you just use what you can.
Yeah. You just have to be
Yeah,
prepared
that was
to
a-
use the odd iPad when
Sorry?
the waterproof cover. You have to be prepared to sacrifice the odd iPad when the waterproof cover starts to leak and you're filming underwater. That kind of thing.
The best phone is the Samsung Galaxy S10 at the moment. I'm finding that is brilliant for underwater shots, and you can zoom in, you can zoom out while you're under the water. And yeah, I upgraded to that about 3 months ago, and I'm so pleased I did. It's
Well,
not doing any product placement, but Samsung Galaxy S10 is working for me right now.
Okay. Well, that were my questions. I think we have a general idea about a little bit about the machine itself, and an endless pool, and the swim machine in a non-endless pool, and how to coach in it or how to swim in it. Anything you want to add, Claire?
No, I'll just say, you know, we are swim coaches on lockdown, and this is how we're spending our time at the moment, chatting, talking to each other, learning from each other. So yeah, just to anybody that's watched the video, we hope we've been useful. Click subscribe, share, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye. I guess, Sarah, did you want to add something?
I just wanted to make the point that quite a lot of people in the UK, I don't know where it is elsewhere, with the lockdown are buying big inflatable pools for the garden, swimming with a tether. And, you know, you can buy a decent sized pool off the shelf. I mean, stick it in a cabin like I've done, not a huge amount of money. And you know, you're away there. So it doesn't have to be something that costs a lot of money. You can do it on a budget perfectly successfully. So just for people who are maybe looking at this thinking, well, is it possible? Then, you know, yeah, it doesn't have to cost a fortune. It really doesn't.
Yeah, that's how I
That's
started.
great.
I started with a pool in the garden with my monkey bars over the top of it and a rope around my waist. And that's when I started to Google, could I possibly one day in my life afford an endless pool? And
Yeah.
that's where you end up 5 years later. Yeah. All right, thanks, ladies. We'll speak to you soon.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.